Foreign Office Briefing, November 1936, General Pavel Shatilov. Regarding the Bulgaria question, we urge your excellencies not to forget the troubled history of this ambitious country. They have fought as part of the Central Powers in the Weltkrieg, providing a crucial link between the Austro-Hungarian and Ottoman empires. The territorial ambitions in the Balkans have led them to the troubled present. And let us not forget that the monarch, Ferdinand I, is of the House of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha. Despite past failures, the potential links with the Reichspakt still exist. Thus, should the current unrest in the Balkans and the formation of the Belgrade Pact clearly aimed at restoring past territorial concessions lead to open warfare, I strongly recommend against siding with the shrewd Tsar. If we are to follow the policy of national restoration ourselves that was drafted under the dictator Savinkov and throw off the shackles of German economic control, we must prepare for confrontation with the Reichspakt. It is thus in our strategic interest to weaken the links of the old chains, even if that means collaboration with internationalist rebels. The risk of blowback of such a policy is high. It could further embolden radical leftist elements in the motherland, and should the International prevail, they might pose a threat to us in the future. But my assessment and strong recommendation is that it is a risk worth taking. The danger of a resurgent Central Powers axis going all the way from the Reichspakt through Austria-Hungary, Bulgaria to the Ottoman Empire, well, is of course present given the threat that the Third International is posing, and with the events in Serbia itself, which is now under the Socialist Workers' Party, that threat is probably being felt here as well. So in order to effectively deal with the Reichspakt and the Reichspact's potential defenses in the East, we have to destruct them in Central Europe. And the best way to destruct them is, unfortunately, to support the Third International, which is a little risky given the, given the problems we currently have with radical left-wing revolutionaries at home. But it is getting the Belgrade Pact towards a victory against Bulgaria, given Bulgaria's history, is potentially in our interest, just in weakening the chains here, especially when it comes also to the Ottoman Empire, which is an all different kind of question again. So we shall see how things turn out there. But chipping away at potential allies in Central Europe against an internationalist threat would be something that we could do. So if the Belgrade Pact, under the leadership of a left-leaning Serbia, manages to strengthen, that could potentially threaten the integrity of Austria-Hungary, because there are some potential troubles here as well. So that could then in return lead to a potential destruction of the old Austro-Hungarian Empire and a further weakening of any potential linkage between the Reichspakt, the Ottomans and the old allies in case of a Second Weltkrieg. So much for the strategic considerations, and my apologies to all in the comments who would like Russia to support the Bulgarians. But this guy, look at where he comes from. Do not trust him. Of course, we don't trust these people even less. But still, if we can throw a spanner in the works of Reichspakt shenanigans, then we are all for it. So let's see how that all turns out. In case there is an armed confrontation, of course, in Central Europe. And we've got Italy, we've got the Balkans, and we've got Spain as potential targets that might be that we might leverage against the Reichspakt. So if we can strengthen the Third International there, that might raise a specter later, but that would help us against the Reichspakt. Now back to domestic problems, which is where we're dealing with at the moment. We have the Union to revive the Republic coming up, and in 34 days, which is going to be 2 weeks before the first pro-labor legislation kicks in, which is going to give us a bit more stability back and is going to appease the left somewhat, then the left-wing anger might further increase. So we will see how that all turns out. We still have outdated equipment in production. That would be the, I would assume, the submarine here. Is that outdated? Let's have a quick look. No, that should not be outdated. This is potential mine-laying submarines, all good. Yeah, I'm not sure what. Oh no, it's the. It's not. It's the. It's right above it. It's the U2. Yeah, we're not playing Germany anymore, Terry. The submarines are not named U something. Yeah, it's the old interwar clause air support. That's fine. We'll deal with that. We'll deal with that eventually. All right. So construction, slowly. We don't have the war support to get off civilian economy, unfortunately. And we are running down towards the Emperor and his cadets. There was some comments that said that the left-leaning path would be as well actually more of a liberal path, or any of these. So this is all great, but this requires me to get to 50% stability, which I am not seeing that we're going to get there anytime soon, especially not because there is not an awful lot here, which is actually prerequisite. What does it need? Needs. Can we get there from rural outreach? Yes, we can. So potentially we can take this as well if we can manage this. If we can manage to get the stability up, that would be the factor. Unfortunately, getting the stability up is not going to be very easy because we've got a little bit of a left-wing uprising happening here. We do have a bit of stability here and there, like in the German imperial decisions, but it's not much, and I doubt that we can easily get that up to 50%. Especially with the left-wing anger actually costing us stability. So we'll see what we get to, but we definitely need to deal with a threat from the left. So for now, we will continue towards building that up. One more item that I would like to address quickly is that we have the T100 series of tanks researched, but that would enable us potentially to actually build a heavy tank. But this would cost army experience, and we don't really have the industry right now to start building that. We've got 6 factories on the BT7s because we are currently just working on the light tank. So I'm not yet going to be really getting started, but just as a quick side note to one of the questions in the comments, yes, these will be infantry tanks. So we're not looking at fast tank divisions. We're looking at slow tanks, slow heavy armor that is supported potentially by infantry and later on by mechanized equipment. So that's how this will start to develop. But first of all, we need to get the industry up. We do have sufficient resources now, however, to start actually training a few more divisions. So let's quickly revisit our somewhat fractured armies. We've got some tank divisions which are in a decent state. We've got what are these? We've got some cavalry divisions, which probably will not be used vastly. We do have the guard infantry, which is probably going to be our go-to infantry. So I'm tempted to just make a few more of these. We do have a few regular infantry divisions, and we've got more of these just regular infantry divisions. All of these need to actually train. So let's get that going. And we've got 3 mountain divisions. That's not an awful lot. I would like to have a few more, but let's probably get a few more of these, the mountain divisions. How many are we going to get? We've got 3, so let's make it. Okay, we get out 4 more from the current, and let's at least fill out these infantry armies. So we need 8 more guard infantry, 2 more and 3 more regular infantry. So let's get that scheduled as well. So we'll have 8 guard infantry. They will go here, and we will have the regular infantry for now. 3 divisions that we will distribute between these 2 armies, and then that's that. We've got one of the old blocking divisions. We might as well actually change the template of that to let's turn it into a regular division, and then we'll send that here, which means we only need 2 of those. Okay, there we go. And we will give the Second European Front general training orders, honestly. I think everybody, this should mostly be, there's a few tank divisions that aren't fully trained, so let's get that also underway while we're at it. And then back to the problems at home. And problems at home we have a wave of strikes, of course. Once the left gets angered, they stop working. Growing left-wing radicalism often channels into action in the form of strikes. There have been more and longer labor conflicts lately, and just now a group of labor unions, largely the metal workers and the dock workers, have called for the longest strikes in some time. The demands include increases in wages and better working conditions, but they also clearly harbor political goals, including the freeing of socialist political prisoners and the easing up of anti-labor organization censorship. The strikes have grown especially powerful in Petrograd and Chelyabinsk, where they have escalated into violence, leaving the police somewhat under-equipped to handle the situation. So we've got 3 options. We can just let things go, which means we get widespread strikes for 60 days, and that angers the right, obviously. We could force them, which costs me 5% stability, but reduces the syndicalism popularity, but I'm not willing to spend 5% base stability on that. I think the best way here is to negotiate with them. Unfortunately, that does cost us 75 political power, but I think this, under the current circumstances, trying to negotiate with the left and buying us time for further measures is the right way to get rid of the union to revive the republic, is the right approach here. So we will spend that political power to negotiate, which is going to give us the strikes only for 30 days and reduces the left-wing anger somewhat, which is good because that means we run less risk of the overall left-wing rebellion getting out of control here. So that's what we're going to be doing. And at the same time, Spain has broken apart. So we now have 3 factions. There is the Carlist faction in the north, which is probably going to be supported by the traditional Entente. We've got the old Kingdom of Spain, which was trying to stay neutral, and we have the CNTFAI, which is the left-wing insurgency. Now, we could support either of the 3 of these, and obviously the question would be which approach is going to weaken the Germans the most. Now, if we look at the overall strategic situation, the old Entente obviously harbors revanchist ideas. So in some way, the Entente is not our ally in this, because the German Empire, and with them the Reichspakt, obviously will get into conflict with the radical left and the syndicalists of the Third International, which means it is actually in our interest to support the CNTF-AI in this case. And this is not political. This is purely strategic. Because if we can get a left-wing, a radical left-wing Spain, that gives a bit of a buffer and hampers old Entente revanchist ideas against the recapture of their respective homelands, and strengthens the potential Western flank against the Reichspakt, which is our core interest at this point. Now, in the long run, this might come back to bite us, as blowback is real. But for now, I think it's interestingly enough, and we do have to be careful with the left at home, but interestingly enough, strategic considerations would be best to support the CNTF-AI. Now, what are we going to send over to Spain? And it is somewhat mountainous, so it might actually be, but I think the tanks would still probably be the better option than sending the mountain divisions over. So if we take 2 tank divisions, these two, they're currently a bit short on light tanks. These are more short on light tanks. So if we get these two tank divisions here, then they can gain some experience in Spain. Alternatively, we could send... How many can we send, actually? Let's see. Send volunteers, 2 divisions, yeah. So we can send 2 divisions. So we can alternatively, we could send 2 of the mountain divisions, which are relatively powerful as well. But I think if we compare them to the armored divisions, then the tank divisions would still be, if we put these next to each other, the tank divisions would probably, the breakthrough is really the difference here. But other than that, the soft attack's actually not that great on the armor. Obviously helps, because nothing's going to be able to pierce these. Yeah, I think we'll be sending the tank divisions again. And this time we will send these 2. Get these into a new army, and we will give, let's see who we're going to assign this time, and then we'll send these over to the CNTF-AI. Okay, we've got the Spain Expeditionary Force, and I'm actually going to assign General Boris Stefan this time, because he's both an infantry officer and an armor leader, which means he can already get the armor expert, and he would make a good candidate for an armor specialist, which is not something I actually have anywhere else at this point, I think. So we will give him the armor expert trait already, and he will lead this expedition to Spain to gather some experience for that, and we will send that, yes, to the left wing out of political considerations. We'll see if we can send an air wing this time, or if our contribution is still going to be too little. And then we shall see how things turn out. Troops are on the way, so for now we'll keep an eye on the events on the ground until we arrive to make our own impact. And probably dealing with the old Kingdom of Spain first is going to be the easier part, just to secure the south, and then dealing with the north, especially that the north is the more mountainous terrain. So if we can hold that and deal with the center, then that would be ideal. So, well, let's see how this all develops. Because yes, ever since the defeat of Napoleon, Spain has been plagued by violence, dissent, and turmoil. No amount of pleading, deal-making, and appeasement has managed to do more than paper over the cracks as tensions bubbled. Finally, they bowled over. The Spanish kingdom has been ripped apart by a 3-sided civil war between numerous factions. Loyalists of the Madrid government, supporters of the pretender Javier, and finally the anarcho-syndicalist CNTF-AI. There are already numerous reports of volunteers and equipment being shipped to Spain from all over the world to support one faction or another. Spain will be torn to shreds as a battlefield for the ideological forces of the wider world. That increases world tension, and this has unfortunately no impact on our war support. And yeah, we will see and wait and see how the front lines develop. It looks like the the left-wing rebels are making early advances, and things are getting heated up further. In East Turkestan has declared war on the Xinjiang clique as well. At some point, we're going to have to take care of Central Asia, but we'll get there. Was there a foreign policy decision to deal with that? Let me have a quick look. Yeah, I think that's the foreign policy tree here, which is going to lead us towards dealing with what do we have? The Turkestan Republic. That might be the one. We'll see. There should be something to deal with all these rebellious places over there in the center, but we'll get to that eventually. For now, we are dealing with Spain, and it looks like early gains for the anarchists in the east here against a somewhat disorganized Spanish main force. If they can consolidate around Cuenca here in the center, that would be great. But I don't think they will have the forces to make that happen, and will probably dig in the mountains around it. And I think the opportunity there has been lost for an early attack, but that might be one of our first orders of attack here. Meanwhile, in India, okay, that's a whole different ballpark, and that is one that we actually probably going to need to deal with as well, because the syndicalists are starting to create trouble here as well. Now, we do want to support the Third International in Central Europe, but on the continent in Asia, that might be a different question here altogether. Now, unfortunately, neither of these parties involved here is particularly supportive of our interest. We've got the Dominion of India, which is part of the Entente, which is not necessarily anti-Reichspakt. We've got the Commune, which is potentially going to join the International and then reinforce, which we could support here as well. And we've got the Princely Federation, who may be more in favor of the Reichspakt. So neither of these, actually we're going to leave that alone, because neither of these is of particular is particularly favorable towards us. We do need to secure the Central Asian states and potentially do something against the Ottomans here in the Middle East. That will be an interesting question to see how things will end up there. But for now, we'll focus on the Spanish Civil War and leave the rest to it. Official confirmation from Germany. It did not take long for the news to reach us, but over in Berlin, the terms of Reichskanzler Schleicher is over. In its stead, a range of German conservatives from across the spectrum now controls the Reichstag. The vitally important Foreign Office has been taken up by Ulrich von Hassel, a diplomat at leading the far-right DVLP, one of the most important ministerial shakeups, and likely the only thing out of this ordeal that matters to us. Yes, because DVLP is the somewhat racist right, if I remember correctly. One would expect that Hassel, much like the German right, is a nutcase hell-bent only on further expanding their country's hegemony over Europe. But upon taking power, the once virulent Russophobia that dominated the German political scene ever since the election of Savinkov and the Lake Luban crisis has been redirected towards the syndicalist bloc, who Hassel claims is actively leading a crusade against tradition and order in Europe. And he's not wrong. As for us, Hassel has spoken of Russia as an inalienable part of European civilization, emphasizing the syndicalists as the greatest threat to it. And yet, despite his preference for Moscow over the International on the European stage, it remains just talk. Truthfully, despite the presence of a seemingly respectable and professional diplomatic leader in Berlin, can one really predict that much will change in the following years? Reasonable or not, Hassel is still a devotee of the German world order, and it is unlikely that the German Foreign Office will ever host anyone truly wanting to make friends with Russia. One could perhaps imagine a world where the Germans, seeing reason, would withdraw from Eastern Europe and cooperate with us against the International for the good of the continent as a whole. The German operating procedure remains unwavering in its anti-Russian stance within the bureaucratic confines of the country. That stance will remain unaltered. Now wait until we are starting to deal with German economic influence. Thus, as expected, any significant shifts in Russo-German relations are unforeseeable. Such facts confirm the undeniable. There is no reasoning with the Germans. We will come to blows one day or another. That's why strengthening the Third International, especially now that the Germans perceive the syndicalist uprising as the greater threat, is actually strategically advantageous for us. So Russia does need to retake lost territory in Eastern Europe, and we need to boot out the German economic influence, and we need to make sure that we get a new European security architecture. Now, working with the somewhat maximalist left is obviously potentially means that if the Reichspakt is falling, if the Reichspakt were to fall, it would potentially mean that we would have to fight yet another battle against the radical left, unless they agree to a sort of multilateral world order. But that is for the future to be fought. For now, the problem is the Reichspakt, and there is an opportunity to collaborate under the hood with the far left, while the gaze of the Germans is moving ever west. And now it starts to get interesting, because now we have to answer the Spanish question. Civil war has broken out in Spain, yes, we realized, between the royal government and socialist revolutionaries. Immediately, the cause of the Spanish whites has created some excitement and sympathy among patriotic Russians, and the Union of Volunteers has already started to organize both donations and possibly a volunteer force to be sent there. Sergei Olovovich Wojciechowski, a prominent writer for VPP's paper Sentinel, has already declared that what is going on in Spain is yet another repeat of bloody Russian fratricide, and that it would be our moral duty to help. But in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the situation is more complex. Yes, you do have to. Patriotic sentiment is all fine and good, but we do have to see the strategic picture here. If one looks at Europe as a board of chess between a Germanic world order and their enemies, then the defeat of the Spanish Revolution would only put Spain back in the arms of the Germans, something the French government in Paris is keenly aware of. In a clandestine meeting between our foreign minister and the French ambassador, a secret deal was proposed. Russia would remain neutral in the Spanish affair and block any attempts by Russian citizens to go fight in Spain, unless it is for the revolutionary cause. Spain would thus be considered part of the French sphere of influence. In return, the French promised to withdraw from funding socialist movements in Russia and Eastern Europe for the time being. So we are trading, basically, any kind of syndicalist influence in our region for agreeing that the French can concentrate on the Reichspakt and don't have to deal with the Spanish hinterland. That is exactly what I had in mind. So we have two options. Spain can be considered to be in the French sphere of influence. That unfortunately costs us 3% influence on market liberalism, which is the last thing I need right now. We do get 50 political power out of it, and we make friends with the French. Alternatively, we could be sending volunteers to Carlist Spain, which would improve both war support and the popularity of market liberalism, but would in return not please the French, and lead to potentially I don't think it would be a pro-Germanic order, but it would be it would be an anti-Third International order. So because the Entente would then have a springboard against France, and if they work together with the Reichspakt, then in the end things would not work out well. So while this is definitely in terms of values what I need right now, unfortunately we're gonna have to take the other one. We could technically take this. I don't really care about the 55,000 manpower, but that means we would actually send volunteers to both sides. So no, we can't do that. So Spain will be considered in the French sphere, as painful as it is for now. And we actually are sending troops to Spain. Volunteers are expected to arrive in 4 days. And we will just have to deal with this situation at home, talking about which. Grand Prince Kirill's most legendary deed was in 1917, when he took his Marine Guard, wearing red armbands of the Revolution, to the Taurida Palace to swear allegiance to the provisional government of Prince Lvov, and authorized the raising of the red flags over his palace. So this is the moment that has often been referenced in imperial propaganda as proof that Kirill shares the legacy of the February Revolution, just as the SR and the cadets do. To commemorate the event, the imperial court has asked Admiral Alexander Kolchak to transfer an elite unit of his marine infantry to be used to restore the Tsar Kirill's Marine Guard, a tradition stemming from his naval service at the time. The Tsar wishes for a full brigade-sized unit under his control to serve both as a ceremonial and an actual guard force. This has raised some eyebrows, as transferring the protection of the imperial family from state security forces to those under Tsar-appointed officers would give the Tsar a private army, albeit a small one. However, it is still just a brigade. It is not like it can pose a threat. It also reminds many of Savinkov's use of uniformed units, not uninformed units, as a tool of propaganda, uninformed probably as well. Though it may be good to give people new military symbols to place in place of those Savinkov utilized. So let's see. We have multiple options. I don't have a strong opinion either way. I don't mind the sort of traditionalist evocation of sentiment, but at the same time, I don't also mind it the other way around, because we are not the old empire. Let's see. So this would increase left-wing anger, so we're not doing that. We could spend 20 political power and just give him a token guard. Or we could reduce the popularity of market liberalism, which we're not doing. So no, we're doing a token guard here, because I can't do with left-wing anger at this point. And 1% base war support is not worth it. So smaller token guard it is. We're new times. If it's all about ceremony, he doesn't need a full brigade over there. Okay. Back to the Spanish situation. Concentrated 1 is finished. This is ahead of time. We can keep focusing. I really do need to get these synthetic oil experiments done at some point, and we do need the radio at this point. So let's get the radio researched. Mechanical computing is almost done. And then we can continue. We can use this path here to continue on the industrials. And more importantly, construction is all it's at right now. So it's all about the factory output helps here as well. So Savinkov's vast security apparatus was immediately downscaled after his removal, and a lot of the police lost their jobs, as they were card-carrying svobodniks and deemed to have lost their civic honor. Initially, the military stepped in, and military police alongside Cossack units were responsible for maintaining order. This is terrible for the independence of our civilian government, and alternatives are needed quickly. Simply put, the problem is that employing former SZRS loyalists in law enforcement is very unpopular, but they also represent the best trained and more experienced force. Barring them from employment would ensure a more morally clean basis for our law enforcement, but it would also lead to less experienced and effective police, which could also harm our democracy. I think simply by party card carrying is too broad of a coup to brush things with. let's see what the effects of these are. So we could pardon some. This would cost me 50 political power and change the popularity of paternal autocracy. Or we could, good grief, 5% stability and daily syndicalist support. No, we're pardoning some of them. That is unfortunate because it's again impacting the popularity of the cadets, but we will see where we get at with the whole thing. Before we look at Spain, they're not yet fighting in India, I believe. In China, it looks like the Germans are slowly pushing the insurgency back, but we'll let them deal with that. And the Xinjiang clique is fighting its civil war over there. We will be focusing on the European strategic front and the Spanish picture. Have my air wings arrived? One has. So we've got a fighter wing. Unfortunately, the I-16 is complete crap. So regardless, we will be using it for aerial superiority. So over Eastern Iberia, which is probably where we're going to be having the first combat going on. And I have sent a tactical bomber wing with a bit more range, despite the fact that we're not actually having any tactical bombers available. We've got some fighters up in the air on the enemy side as well, and we will see how the war in the skies is going to turn out until we actually have some troops on the ground. All right, we have 2 armored divisions on the ground, and we do need to have somebody and we're going to be getting. Who can we get as field marshal for this? Who can we repurpose for that? Markov. Yeah, Markov is an armor leader. He's going to be field marshal in charge. All right, how's the supply situation on the ground? Not the greatest. We're having Zaragoza. As long as they can hold Zaragoza in the north, it's not too bad. But yeah, this is going to be our first point of attack here. In order to, for that, there is an enemy tank division here as well. So I think we are going to rapidly redeploy north. Looks like a river crossing, so we're probably better off redeploying south. And your first task is to clear enemy positions out from there. And please do take the railways. Can we get railway redeployment, please? Okay, I have to do that by hand. We do have some French tanks here as well. So let's see if we can get them to the front lines by rail. It looks like that would be a negative. Game does not want a rail deployment. Oh well, we'll take the long route then. How is my Air Force? Has my second air wing arrived? It has not. Where is it? I have sent one of the... still on... Oh, it's almost there. Okay, I've sent one of the tactical bomber wings, which should help with all ground operations. So we're going to have to wait for the tanks to arrive. Our research was finished. We're doing radios, so... Concentrated 2 is going to be next. Focus heavily on industrial research, and unfortunately we're not getting anywhere in terms of political power. Yeah, we've got the widespread strikes, which is going to unfortunately stop in December. So at least that's something. And then the situation will be slightly better. 4 shots at close range. The assassin shot immediately and the target died later in the hospital. The good old classic story from Russia. Sadly, this crime casts a shadow on our restored democracy and reminds many of the terrible era of political violence in the 1930s. This assassination by an anarchist connected to the Maximalists was denounced widely, though there is undeniable adoration of this kind of revolutionary terror on the political fringes. 6% stability. Oh my gosh. And 4% on totalism. Yeah, could have done without that. Stability is at -10 at this point now. And we are consistently losing influence here in the center. So, but we're working on that. And Left-wing anger is still at 7. So we'll at least we're not in any direct danger of having the government overthrown. We'll try to get... Okay, there we go. Okay, one thing after the other, please, people. The future direction of Russian liberalism is completed, and the cadets are now somewhat more united, which means we are on the path to the law on Russian freedoms. All right, so this has increased the cadets numbers to 27%. Unfortunately, we do need 40. This will reduce everything else, so we don't actually know how much impact that'll have, but we'll go there. And the law on Russian freedoms is going to be next. Republican victory in Brazil, that is good. And yes, I probably couldn't strategically redeploy because there's active combat at the front lines. That generally tends to be the problem. Okay, so we've got these ongoing. And we do have to keep an eye on things. Unfortunately, our stability at home is getting reduced as we speak. And this isn't going to help. Because it's going to cost another 3% stability. So getting the democracy under control against the rampant left is actually harder than it looks. Okay, we are strategically redeploying the tanks now. So they should arrive a little bit quicker. We have both air wings in place, which means we are now going to run close air support over the Eastern Iberian air zone, which means we should be relatively well and truly in control. Mission efficiency and air detection is terrible. Mission efficiency isn't great, but can we slightly? And we don't have the command power to improve any of that, but we'll deal with that when we get there. I'd have to keep an eye on the fuel consumption, but tanks are on the way to the front lines. And then they obviously now have to disembark the trains, reorganize themselves, and that is all going to happen. But the law on Russian freedoms is being discussed. All right, where are we going with this? Chairman Minister Nekrasov's law on Russian freedoms is an ambitious package that would be the final step in demolishing the police state that Russia has built during the past years. It has been penned by the retired Maklakov, being his last farewell to Russia. The law proposes wide reductions in power to the Okhrana and the police, strengthening the citizens' legal protections and decriminalizing political and religious crimes. In general, it seeks to bring Russia's legislation on the level of a modern nation. While the law has been generally welcomed by the progressives, surprisingly many in the chairman minister's own party have expressed their reluctance towards it. Gronsky, a Duma member from Tver, held a particularly loud speech suggesting various changes to the law. He and the right cadets have prepared an alternate version which would not completely surrender the country to criminals and would continue maintaining strong law enforcement while committing to a number of reasonably legal reforms. Let's see. So, I dislike the total decriminalization of political acts. Well, we will see what we can get here. So we can get a vote out. We can have a 79% chance that the law passes, a 20% chance that the law does not pass, and a 1% chance of unknown origin, but it blocks some national focus. Redemption of guilt, Council for Publication Standards. Okay, do I care about these? Where are they? I have no idea. Let's have a quick look and see if we can find out if I care about these. Okay, that's down here. This would be something with operatives. This would be penal battalions. Okay. So not necessarily what we need. So I'm okay with that being blocked, although that looks relatively good. Make concessions, and that does the same thing, or just bury it, which is not what we're going to be doing. So we can either push through with it. Then this is relative this is relatively interesting because it doesn't actually tell me what happens. So we can either put it to a vote, and which gives us a relatively good chance that it's going to pass, but also a 20% chance that it's not going to pass, which means that we would probably then again lose the influence that we've just gathered. Not sure, because the game doesn't literally not tell me. We could make some concessions to the right and pass a watered down law, or we could overrule the right on this. So let's have a quick look at this again. Wide reductions in power to the Ukrainian police, strengthen its legal protection, decriminalizing political and religious crimes. And Gronsky, he suggests an alternate version which would not completely surrender country to criminals, would continue maintaining strong law enforcement while committing to a number of reasonable legal reforms. I think given the current ongoing situation, weakening law enforcement too much would actually not be a particularly great impact. However, I am wary that if I do this, that the watered down version would further reduce the influence of the cadets and then block a potential path forward. We could throw the dice and literally let the Duma vote on this, and there is a relatively good chance that it is going to pass in the Duma with the current center-left majority that we're having. That might, worst case, if it fails, I don't know what's going to happen. Game doesn't tell me, so I'm going to go with a vote because we are a democracy. And the parliament should be in charge of legislation. So let's see what happens. We put it to the vote. And the law has passed the Duma. After its passing through the State Duma and the State Council, the law on Russian freedoms has finally come to the table of Kirill I for final ratification. It is seen as a great achievement for Nikolai Nekrasov and a legal reform worthy of the idealistic cadet foundations. With the law, a new age should start with Russian policing and legal systems, one where the state cannot weaponize security services against dissidents, but instead will focus solely on maintaining the safety of every citizen of Russia. Yes, hooray. Okay, this actually does something to the weak democracy. Where was it? This one. Because that actually hurts. So, unstable democracy. We get stability, political power, and we reduce the left-wing anger. Good. This is all good stuff. Okay. So that actually worked out reasonably well. That might have actually been the better choice in the end, rather than doing the right-wing compromise. Okay. Tank divisions are moving into position, but obviously need to immediately get thrown into combat. But they will need to restore their organization for a potential assault north. Given that we are getting direct, we might actually have been better just not taking the railroads, because the French tanks are now joining us here as well. And we have already taken a position in the north, so it's all good. All is well that ends well, and the tank divisions haven't even reinforced here. So with that, we are. How are we doing in the air? Not much happens in the air, to be honest. We do have aerial superiority, but not much impact in the air. Hopefully that'll come sooner rather than later. So what's our next? Given that we have now, we potentially have the road open towards Madrid, actually. We have the supply hub in the north, but we have no railway connection, so no opportunity for strategic destruction here. And the supply hub in the south is somewhat overloaded. But we might support a push towards Madrid. Let's see. We'll let the defense run. We'll let the tanks organize. We'll let the French take point here. And then if the French are focusing their tank forces in the south, then we may actually further support the Cartagena side. So we're not all pushing at the same direction. And we'll see how that goes. Okay. First of all, however, we need to wait. The French are supporting the whole line here, basically. Cartagena looks a bit sketchy, though. Might have to divert there. But for now, we'll stick with 8 more days until that happens. We'll stick with the northern position, and we will wait until the attack has been defeated, and then we'll support a potential French action towards Madrid. Okay, this should be the Ottomans, so that's something that concerns us. Fevzi Pasha seizes power. War hero and celebrated commander of the Ottoman army seized power in Constantinople earlier today as columns of Ottoman infantry marched past the palace, arresting opposition figures in an attempt to restore order. Although foreign observers have noted that the Marshal of the Ottoman forces does not have any long-term political ambitions, merely wishing to set up a transition government until a democratic alternative can be reinstated, many do question whether by doing this he has not set a dangerous precedent. Okay, we'll see. We'll see what the future will bring for the Ottomans. We do have to keep a little bit of an eye on the situation here, and see what happens once the Union to Revive the Republic gets activated, and we are getting our tank divisions to restock and coordinate, and then we will be pushing, I think, pretty much towards Madrid from here. Although that is a bit of a supply issue, but it's probably the better choice here, just to push directly towards Madrid. Close that. See if we can close this completely off as quickly as we possibly can, and maybe before we take Madrid, we'll push north and try to destroy some of the Spanish. Oh, there's a German division here as well. Has already been pushed back. Okay, I think the tanks are ready for action. So in that regard, I think, given that we're making advances here, we are going to see if we can push towards Madrid now against the weakened Spanish infantry. Quick look, we are going to have to shift focus onto the Western Iberian air zone relatively quickly, I think. See if we can actually get some air. The air war is still. Well, we got the mission efficiency, so we should be starting to see some. Impact. Yeah, there we're starting to see impact from the bombers. Okay, what's going on in Ukraine? Failed revolt in Ukraine. For some time, the German client state of Ukraine, led by Hetman Pavlo Skoropadsky, has been embroiled in an uprising led by the Republican opposition, originally operating in Austrian Galicia. Now it seems that the future of the Hetmanate is secured, with news that the Republican forces have been driven out of the country, barring a few small pockets of resistance scattered throughout the western portion of the state. The end of the revolt has marked a victory for authoritarian hardliners and Hetman loyalists who have used the uprising as pretext to suspend and consolidate power. Someone should have shot that mutineer long ago. It's all part of the democratic process. Yeah, wild things happening, but I don't think we'll have much. I don't think there's actually anything we have in impact here. We have an interesting option here. We can legislate freedoms for that's the usual gain. Oh, rally public support changes popularity in market liberalism. Oh, that's 150. We might actually save up for that and see if we can make that. That's probably one way to make that happen. Let's see. I also really wish to do a couple of other things here. Like I would still love to get the industrial concern going to speed up our abysmally slow construction values, but time will tell. Anyway, for now, the tanks are pushing through with air support from the Russian Air Force. And more civil wars going on in Central Asia. But for now, we will focus on the Spanish situation. North seems to be holding for now, but it looks a bit shaky. Let's see that we can. Take Madrid, secure Madrid. That would be great. So if we can push through here. And do we get infantry support flowing on? We don't want to get cut off. I think I'll push on with the tanks for now. Let's see if we can push straight to Madrid. Use the momentum. Hopefully the infantry will backfill this. And the north is reasonably weak. Yeah, infantry is backfilling. And we'll leave one tank division behind to defend. And there is one weakened division. Okay, widespread strikes have ended. Good. One weakened division is defending Madrid. And we are getting a reasonable counterattack. We're getting a counterattack here from Spanish forces, I think, out of the south. But I think they're weakened enough that we might be able to push through towards Madrid. We are getting infantry support here as well. And Stefan's tanks are pushing in, which means we are now fighting in a different air zone. Which means also the tactical bombers are now going to be focusing on Western Iberia. The fighters don't have the range, unfortunately, to get there, so they will just secure the front at home. Okay, while that's ongoing, the unions are mobilizing. Yes, this is that would be the tick over from that's the tick over from this one. So let's see what happens here. Major strikes have been called by the VTSPS-aligned unions and later joined by even more moderate and SR-aligned labor unions. Their spokesmen cite the monarchist coup as the reason for the popular mobilization, and they declare their full support for the SVR goal of having Kirill I abdicate and his government resign. This blatantly political wave of strikes has grown in some cities, such as Petrograd and Rostov, to such a degree that local law enforcement has reported problems in maintaining order. So, what can we do? We can mobilize the police force, which is going to give us another widespread strikes, or we can just ignore it, which gives us another widespread strikes. So either way, syndicalism raises in popularity. So I think adding another 40 days to this is good, because that also, whenever it happens, costs me base stability. So mobilizing the police gives us 30 days of widespread strikes, but we're getting these anyway. So no matter what we do, it appeases the right. At this point, I'm agreeing with the right wing here that this is getting out of hand. So we are going to mobilize more police forces to ensure stability. That we do have a duty to protect the citizenry, which is giving me widespread strikes again, and raises popularity in syndicalism. But it does add 40 days here, so that now takes 100 days. And once the press censorship campaign is through, that adds another 60 days. So it gives us more time to deal with that whole situation there. All right, back to here, where we are breaking through towards Madrid. I think there's only one division that is currently holding this position, and once the defense has been completed, we can support the attack here. And we do have to try. We will try to take Madrid in a rapid maneuver action. And see if we can make the break here, but unfortunately, we will send at this point both tank divisions. Yeah, we'll send both tank divisions over at this point to support the push towards Madrid. They're all exhausted, but we have support from friendly infantry as well, and I think unfortunately they've reinforced. They have reinforced. And the tank division has been beaten back from the river crossing, and the second tank division is under heavy assault here. Maybe we should not be taking Madrid then. Maybe we should expand south and see if we can make our way there, or we could. Do we have a railway towards Madrid? Yes, we actually do have a railway connection towards Madrid. We could secure the southern flank. No, we cannot secure the southern flank. They got there in time, so stop the assault, and shorten the front line, please, such that we are going to focus here. We focus on the defense, and we will be once they have regained a little bit of organization, we'll restart the assault onto Madrid just to keep the pressure up here. Okay, let's see if we can take Madrid. That would be a major victory, but meanwhile, things happening at home again. All right, the Golden Handshake. Savinkov administration helped the state amass great fortunes, and despite the intent to redistribute them fairly, much of the state property fell into the hands of a few opportunistic businessmen, as things happen, yes. The Putilovs and Morozovs has bounced back and increased their fortunes, and many middle managers in Savinkov's state enterprises were able to gain a lot of important shares. Many of these figures have come together and organized, forming the VSTPF, the All-Russian Union of Commerce, Industry and Finances, under the presidency of Cadet Pavel Burishkin, an avid businessman who managed to acquire majority ownership of some large industrial complexes. So we've got, that's the problem with revolutions. You tend to get oligarchs. Large industrial complexes built during a plan of Voshkod. The VSTPF acts as a lobbying group to advise the government on economic policy, and Burishkin has approached us with an offer. As responsible citizens of Russia, Burishkin and his colleagues want to take part in rebuilding Russia. Yep, I see that to everybody's advantage. They offer their considerable financial support to state industry programs as long as their own empires are not forgotten in government contracts and new legislation. Okay, I think so. We have that's an interesting interesting proposition. Now, the problem with oligarchs is that the whole patriotism and rebuilding Russia thing is obviously just a ruse for their own enrichment, because that's really all they care about. So. I am not in favor of this. I think people who enrich themselves during these kind of uncertain times are really not particularly helpful, and this will increase popular anger. Of course, I would assume, left-wing anger would be increased. We would get 40 political power and a potential political advisor out of this. But the alternative would be 5% market liberalism and some right-wing anger, which I think we can live with. We are not going to do backroom deals with influential businessmen. We are trying to build a free liberal democracy here, and you don't build that on these kind of foundations. So we'll do that, which is going to increase the cadets again. Law on Russian freedoms is ongoing. And how does the Madrid situation look like? Unfortunately, we've got so many troops amassed here now that we have trouble defending this bridgehead, and we have trouble getting supply here as well. So we might have to try and regain some organization first before we launch any further assault in the north. The situation in the north doesn't look good. We have to be careful that we're not losing the supply hub here, and we are losing ground in the south. This is what I feared. We're losing ground in the south near Cartagena as well. So if this Madrid operation doesn't come to a swift conclusion, then we'll see if we can maybe we can destroy the German division in the east here, if that would be possible. But we've got our tank divisions are getting pushed back here, and we do have to keep an eye on the overall frontline situation as well. So as tempting as it is, I think Madrid is just a bridge too far at this point, and we will see that we can consolidate the lines, and we might have to swing south and ensure stability there, because it doesn't look too great at the moment, and we do need to secure I'd love to secure Madrid, but worst case we'll secure the river lines and then focus on the northern situation. Anyway, Italian democracy survives after many months of terrorist acts by the ANI. after many months of terrorist acts by the ANI, rocked the Italian Republic and caused many within the nation to doubt the government's ability to maintain order. A vote of no confidence was held in Milan today. If passed, many feared it would have signaled the Republic's collapse. But the motion was defeated. Prime Minister Gronchi has announced from the steps of the government buildings that democracy in Italy has survived and a republic would live on. So, Socialist Republic of Italy, we've got the Italian Republic and the two Sicilies. I am interested in creating a left-wing Italy. So, supporting the Socialist Republic would probably be in our interest. But let's see what's going to go on here. I think without having any supply in this pocket, it might be the better option to fall back for now. So let's remove that. Madrid was a bridge too far, but now we have too many troops here. So let's move the tanks out and towards a position from which. Okay, game does not want me to have a front line. Oh, it puts the front line north. Okay, that's fair. We'll still we'll move slightly. Oh my gosh. Okay, moment. Wait. we'll retreat from the Madrid bridgehead because the French tanks are already there, and we just don't have the supply there to make things happen. And I'm also afraid we might have to start helping out in the south here a bit. And the north is also not looking great. But domestic politics happen again before we can do any further military decisions. All right, meeting in the Kremlin. General Field Marshal Wrangel has requested the absolutely confidential meeting of unknown purpose with the Tsar and his ministry chairman. Such a call by the military would seem threatening to anyone else but the Tsar, but could trust his officers even when entering a prepared conference room under heavy guard of men loyal to Wrangel, led by his right-hand man, General Shatilov. Even Denikin and Markov are present, despite their differences with Wrangel. It was truly an extraordinary meeting. Maps were spread on the table and shown to the Tsar. They showed forced concentrations all across the Russo-Middle European border, from Petrograd to Rostov. These were no ordinary defensive formations, however, but offensive ones, nicknamed Operation Yekaterina, after the last conquest of the Ukrainian steppe. Wrangel then explained that in 1935, President Savinkov had already requested an invasion plan to be drafted by General Field Marshal Kornilov, whose staff had started preparing the operation under Denikin, who served as the chief of staff back then. The military was supportive of the plan and had continued preparing it even after Savinkov's downfall. While formally they are requesting the Tsar's approval of it, the tone of the meeting is clear. They are explaining an already decided plan and merely expecting the Tsar to give it his blessing. Some more documents were shown to the Tsar, which list various preparations that the military has already implemented, and they expected to be able to start the operation in 1939 or 1940. Markov is recommending haste as intelligence reports that the German army has finally woken up to the threat and is rapidly strengthening. The plan seems well prepared. It would not be hard to sell the war of reconquest politically. And even if the Tsar disagreed with the plan, which he did not, the military does not seem to be taking no for an answer in any case. Yes. So that's going to happen. We obviously, unfortunately, have a variety of problems. One which of is the lack of infrastructure, which is in dire need of modernization. So, that's something we're going to need. 1939 and is still 3 years off, so we still got a little bit of time. But in the meantime, we have to work on winning the hearts and souls. It is no secret that the monarchy has plenty of opponents in Russia, particularly among the urban poor. While the so-called Second Empire is obviously not the same as the first, we may need to implement some major programs to win over the people. Yes, that is indeed something we need to do. The simplest way to win over the workers would be economic prosperity. After all, discontent comes from poverty and lack of work. True. If they would stop striking all the time, an ambitious enough work creation program would no doubt give us plenty of credit among the workers, and in the best case, inoculate them against socialist agitation. However, pure economic growth may not be a long-term solution. We could also push through a package that includes improved working conditions, minimum wage, and other benefits for the working class. This would not be liked by our our funders, nor would it be as beneficial economically, but it would be the best way to win them over. Okay, so we can either focus on economic growth, given that people right now have no work and no food, or we would start reforming labor laws. But the problem there is that obviously if you have an economy that is completely controlled by the German capital, then better labor conditions don't necessarily help if there are no jobs. It's great to have better working conditions, but if there are no jobs to work in the first place, that doesn't make any sense. So let's see what we can get. Focus on economic growth, promise of work. Start a labor reform. That would cost 50 political power, but add another 90 days to that mission there. Or do both. Okay, we could do both. That is fascinating. That is interesting. Another 50 political power. We're not getting anywhere with our political power, unfortunately. But that would buy me. That would further reduce left-wing anger and buy me another 90 days on that mission. So that would be good. Currently, the intensity of the anti-monarchist resistance is 1, and we don't want things to get any further out of hand. Actually, if we do the promise of work mission, that's where this was. Okay, this is the promise of work mission. If we can actually complete that, that would be another completion condition for this. So we wouldn't actually have to get all the way to the 50% from the cadets. Okay. Yeah, we're definitely doing both on this, because that is that might be another way if we can't strengthen the cadets sufficiently. Okay, so left-wing anger changes 50 political power. That's worth it. So the promise of work. So what do we do now? Factories up to 150. Yeah, I know. That's what we're trying to do. And we have the, if not completed, when completed, 5% war support, stability. Okay, all good things. So we've got a year to get factories up to 150. Or do 3 programs. Develop the Heartland, Ural program, and Siberian development program. Are they active? They are not. So how do I get these? They're probably, what are they called? Let me find what we need to do to make that happen. Okay, they're over here actually. So we would need Heartlands, Ural, and Siberian development, and that is so that this one, this one, this one, and this one. So we would need all of these. We're at 80 factories. That's 150 factories is going to be ambitious in 365 days. How long does it so what's my point of no return? So this is 35, 70, so that's 140 days. So I need at least 140 days to make this all happen. So if we don't, we can let it run for a bit, because this is not on my priority list right now to make these happen. It's nice, but I mean, this gives us free factories as well and industrial research bonuses. So we could do this too. We are buying ourselves a little bit of time here. We do have a few things. Oh, we do. Was this here before? This seems new, or maybe I just missed it. Well, that's a good one, because that also reduces the anger overall. Okay, because we have 30% of the 30% support for the cadets, and this would also be pretty useful. So I think we may be able to do a few things here. Let's see. Maybe we Maybe we even get the stability up. We will see. Anyway, so we've got enough time to do this. I really want to get here as well. War support still terrible, but we can get that up eventually. I do want to get here as well. So we'll see. Is the rural outreach by itself is not. We'll see how much impact this is having. And we'll see if we can get. We'll see where we can get in terms of in terms of things in the end. All right, but let's try to retreat our tank divisions from the Madrid front, because the French have we have so much, and this has no divisions on it. We have problems with we have problems with supply here, and we do have to be careful that we actually have a railway now here, so we should be getting supply reasonably soon. We might have to secure the supply routes in the north here. So alternatively, we'll deal with the southern position first, because from what I can see here, they are collapsing in the south pretty rapidly. Or we consolidate positions in the center. Okay, we'll fold the tanks back here for now. Let's regain some organization as we go after this first operation. We still have, then I can also. Do we? Alternatively, how's the southern situation? We have faced no fighters here. Okay, so first things first, we're going to get the fighter wing south and focus on the southern Iberian order. The bomber wing as well. So let's see if we can stabilize the southern. We can stabilize the southern air zone. We've got because we also have the threat from the north here, from the Carlists. I am trying to fold the tank divisions back to a position from where they can refuel and rearm somewhat, but unfortunately the front lines are falling apart relatively rapidly. Okay, the Serbian Republic has now declared war on Bulgaria. Yes, that is, and yes, we will now be following. I think we can probably end the episode there. We will be following through with the plan of supporting syndicalism in Central Europe in order to weaken the old power structures, and we will actually send volunteers to Serbia in this regard. And we shall be sending the Belgrade Expeditionary Force under Drozdovsky, including air volunteers. We have a division limit of 1 actually. Okay, because we do not have enough divisions out in the field, so we can actually just send one mountain division. All right, 1 mountain division it shall be then. So that's all the volunteers we can send, and we will send air volunteers as well. Let's see if we get access to the airports. We'll see. But yeah, we will send a mountain division there. And meanwhile, we might have to secure the northern flank here, to be honest, just to make sure that. Let's see if we can secure the northern flank, at least to the river line, to make it a little more defensive. We'll send the tank division through, and we'll be joining the friendly infantry there momentarily. And we do have to be careful that we're not losing the whole northern flank here, while operations are going on in the south. So we'll secure the situation here, and then we'll try to further. Madrid's about to fall by the looks of it, but we've got a large amount of the old loyalist forces here. So I do need to make sure that the Carlist Spain is not getting too powerful. And yeah, the Fourth Balkan War is ongoing. Greater Bulgaria, that has carved itself out by allying itself with the winners of the Weltkrieg, is now falling to the demands of the countries that have lost territory and influence, and also Bulgarian things like Bulgarian massacres of Serbian population and similar things have not particularly helped the scenario. So we'll assist potentially with another syndicalist French-friendly country in Central Europe to further destabilize the whole area. All right, our mission remains. We have to somehow try and get our country under control, and then we will see how that goes. We have to build up our industry, and yes, war plans are being made for a revanchist invasion in Central Europe. So a lot of things to do. 1936 isn't even over yet, and we're already busy on all fronts.